Well, we are live recording here, or actually telegraphing here from our offices here in Wheaton. I wanted to come in here and talk about an important issue, something that's been important to us for quite a while here. And we're going right to the Gotion deal. Now, the Midwesterner and numerous other publications just told us that the CCP Gotion deal is dead in Michigan. In fact, the headline says Whitmer funded Chinese battery maker pulls plug on Mecosta County project. So this is the Michigan project where the Green Charter Township folks sued over the fact that this was done, and they think in a way that was not legal. And so they were able to halt first the Gotion battery manufacturing plant up there, and then they were able to really basically stop the project completely. And this is verification that that project has been shut down. Congressman Molinar said the people of Green Charter Township can finally move on from Gotion's lies and broken promises. Now, this is important because the Michigan Gotion plant was supposed to be the manufacturing plant for EV batteries, and then the Manteno plant that Gotion set up was simply supposed to be the assembly plant for the product coming from Michigan, assembled in Manteno, and then further distributed throughout the United States. And these were supposed to be EV batteries. We already know that Gotion is moving off of so much EV battery production, and they are trying to get into grid scale battery production instead. And why is that? Because they fully expect Illinois to subsidize grid scale batteries. And that is part of the energy plan that is on the table and may be up for a vote as early as next week. That would completely blow up your electric bills if they decide to subsidize this type of energy source, because it is 10 times more expensive than the actual energy that it's getting stored. So that's one caveat of it. But back to this whole idea that this plant is dead in Michigan. They were able to stop it. Reading from that article written in the Midwesterner, it says that while Governor Gretchen Whitmer's Michigan Economic Development Corporation contends it's not the outcome we hoped for, residents in Mecosta County are celebrating its decision to nix $715 million in taxpayer-funded incentives for Gotion. MedC officials said notified Thursday lawmakers that the company with strong ties to the Chinese Communist Party is in breach of its economic development contract, which was negotiated in secret by Governor Gretchen Whitmer's administration and select lawmakers just 3 years ago. It was the same deal in the state of Illinois. It was a deal done by Governor Pritzker. It was $536 million. It was done in secret with Governor Pritzker's DCEO people and also select lawmakers, and then also the Economic Development Alliance, whatever they are. And that was done in conjunction with elected officials from the county and the city of Manteno in secret, with NDAs required. So the taxpayers who are funding this, the taxpayers who are having to deal with all the fallout in their own community over the Gotion plant, they all had no idea about the deal until the deal was done and signed. This is terrible. Same thing in Michigan, same thing in Illinois. This is how they work. Now, Whitmer claimed in 2022 that the agreement, which included the $715 million in taxpayer-funded incentives and taxpayers, would fuel the biggest ever economic development project in northern Michigan and create 2,350 good-paying jobs in Big Rapids. But here's the good thing. I don't foresee a world in which this project goes forward, MedC COO Christian Armstrong told Crane's Detroit Business on Thursday. Even if it was to go forward, just given the passage of time and the circumstances on the ground, it's not the same as what it was when approved in 2022. The world has shifted so significantly since then. I think it's safe to say that the project is not going to happen as we had originally foresaw and or hoped. Well, what's shifted? Well, the fact that people are souring on EVs, on electric vehicles. And so therefore you don't need these EV batteries. That's what has completely shifted, along with those $7,500 federal tax credits that Donald Trump is getting rid of. So you're right. Their entire market is falling apart. And that's why they don't see the need to put this plant in. Gotion doesn't see the need. Now, going on with this, it is interesting to know. And let's see. here. Congressman John Molinar, chair of the House Select Committee on the CCP, has repeatedly pointed to Gotion's status as the wholly owned and controlled subsidiary of Gotion High-Tech, a Chinese company that's subsidized by the Chinese government, in calling on Michigan officials to cancel its development agreement. So that's what Gotion is. They're wholly owned and controlled by Gotion High-Tech. And Gotion High-Tech is a Chinese company subsidized by the Chinese government, meaning they have deep, deep ties to the CCP. We've been telling you this all along. Why are we subsidizing a CCP-affiliated company? We should not be. But Illinois, unfortunately, we still are. Michigan, fortunately, has kicked them out. Its employees at Gotion High-Tech are required to swear an allegiance to the CCP, and members of Gotion's North American leadership team attend CCP board meetings, he said. Despite Gotion's rosy promises and influence campaign on local leaders, the residents of Green Charter Township repeatedly show us they do not support a company beholden to the Chinese Communist Party setting up shop in their town. Molinar said in a statement Thursday, 2 years ago, this community came together and recalled the officials who welcomed Gotion and the CCP to town. Instead of listening to the will of the people, the company decided to fight them, suing the resilient small town in a vain attempt to force its way in and ridiculing those who did not support the project. The same thing's happening in Manteno right now. The concerned citizens of Manteno have started a lawsuit against Gotion. They are arguing that it is unsafe. Then they're using toxic materials within a half mile of residential buildings. They're arguing that the permitting process was not correct. And they're arguing that they are affiliated with the CCP. All those arguments still stand as the case goes forward and it's into discovery. I heard from the lawyer yesterday on a phone call, and Gotion has refused, even though it's in the discovery phase of the lawsuit. Gotion is stonewalling and has refused to give out any of the information, saying they will not even supply the court with the information on what materials are used in their EV manufacturing there in Manteno. No doubt this is going to go back and forth quite a bit with a lot of different court decisions on it, but eventually we will get to see that chemical list. There's no doubt in my mind. But the fact that they're hiding it tells you everything you need to know. If the chemicals used were really not that bad, really not that toxic, still within the permitting requirements, why would they not give up the list? Well, it's because it's the reverse. They are bad, they are toxic, and they're outside the permitting process, which is why they're hiding them. And so I think that'll all be proved up in court. Those are my allegations. And I will have the lawyer, Robbie Doobie, on my show Saturday night in the 8:05 segment if you want to catch that. Now, the other thing interesting about this is that former U.S. Ambassador and Michigan-China Economic and Security Review Group Director Joseph Sella also sided with Green Township opponents on the Chinese Communist Party affiliated Gotion project. What did Governor Gretchen Whitmer and the MEDC expect when they collaborated in a deal with a company that is deeply tied to the Chinese Communist Party, who is engaged in unrestricted warfare against the United States of America? Sella said in a statement, "This was a textbook subnational incursion and influence operation. You don't subsidize these things, you stop them," Sella continued. Unconscionably, the government and business elites who conceived and championed this deal in a very secretive and fast-moving manner did not perform basic, strict scrutiny and due diligence. This completely disregarded the guidance of our national security and intelligence agencies about how to handle such transaction, and as a result, ruptured the consent of the governed, exposed Michigan taxpayers, and jeopardized our national security, Sella said. The same thing, again, is happening in Illinois. All those same things apply to Gotion in Illinois because they are one and the same company as Gotion in Michigan. All that still applies. Now, this is also really curious. In a statement to the media, the MEDC, which, again, that's the Michigan Economic Development Center Corporation, said ending Gotion's taxpayer support is not the outcome we hoped for, but argued it has a tremendous responsibility to ensure Michiganders' hard-earned tax dollars are spent wisely and appropriate. The agency is now working to recoup $23.6 million is spent on land for the planned Gotion factory. The rest of the Gotion funding, it said, remains unused. So they're now, they did this deal with Gotion. Nothing happened. No ground was broke. There wasn't a single product produced. But they gave Gotion, they spent $23.6 million to buy this land for Gotion. They bought the land for Gotion. And now they're trying to get that money back because the whole project is a complete catastrophe. It's disaster, and they moved out of it. So that's where it stands right now. We know in the deal with, in our case, in the Illinois case, Governor Pritzker has already cut them a check for $125 million. I've not checked the comptroller's website lately to see if any additional checks have been cut, but $125 million within 4 months of signing that. And that's the same seed money that they have used to buy up hundreds of acres around the Gotion plant, trying to insulate themselves from any problems with adjacent landowners. And then they have the audacity to probably use this money to buy housing for the Chinese that they have brought over from China to work their plant, and also to pay the lawyers who, in the case that we are suing them in. Or I say we, but I'm actually helping the concerned citizens of Manteno. So that's the state of the state here with this thing. Now we are having a really good fundraiser on Tuesday, October 28th at the Olympia Fields Country Club. Gordon Chang is our visitor. He wrote this book, Plan Red, China's Project to Destroy America. And here we have our own government subsidizing them here in the state of Illinois. So we're going to hear from Gordon Chang. We're going to hear from Zach Model. He's the head of Atlas Manufacturing and also the board chairman for the Coalition for a Prosperous America. So he'll be there. We've got other great sponsors, including Darren LaHood and Technology and Manufacturing Association and others. So we're happy to have use this fundraiser. Strictly, all proceeds go to raise money for the concerned citizens of Manteno lawsuit against Gotion. They're fighting both big corporate and big government at the same time. And we really appreciate these citizens standing up for their rights, just like they did in Michigan. Michigan, they proved that they could stop Gotion, and we think that we can do so in Illinois. It's going to be a tough fight. We need your support. Ticket sales have closed for this event. It's going to be a great event, but you can still donate to the concerned citizens of Manteno. I think their webpage is No Gotion, Illinois. So you can check that out, find them online. One other note about this, there was also a Chicago Tribune article that came out today. EV automaker Rivian laying off 4.5% of its workforce ahead of the R2 launch in Normal. Why is this important? Because along with his green energy fantasies, Governor Pritzker didn't just give $536 million to Gotion to build EV batteries. He gave Rivian $827 million in subsidies to build EVs. And so they were supposed to be a combo here. Gotion builds the batteries, ships into Normal, they go into the Rivian autos. But it looks like Rivian may be struggling too. This article is a little bit, I don't know, it goes both ways here. They essentially say that Rivian is laying off about 600 employees, roughly 4.5% of its workforce, and that essentially those are in customer service and marketing departments as they launch their R2, and they are trying to profitably scale their business, and they're not making changes to their manufacturing. However, according to the article, they refuse to say whether or not their manufacturing employees are the same. They had about 7,000 assembly plants in April of 2024, assembly workers, in April of 2024, when it streamlined operations and went from 3 to 2 shifts. Rivian had 14,861 employees across North America and Europe at the end of 2024, but declined Thursday to provide the current number of employees in Normal. So we don't really know. They are building this R2. While their first generation SUVs and trucks cost upwards of $80,000, the R2 has a price starting at $45,000. And they went through some delivery numbers. Essentially, during the third quarter, the automaker built 10,720 vehicles at its Normal plant and delivered 13,201 in line with its projections. And fortunately, the Tribune did note that the company lost nearly $1.7 billion through the first 6 months of 2025. And it's set to release its third quarter earnings November 4th. So we'll find out what those look like in about a week. So they've already lost $1.7 billion through the first 6 months of 2025. They have never made a profit on any vehicle that they have sold. These vehicles are subsidized. They're subsidized by you, the taxpayer, at the federal government level. They're subsidized by you, the taxpayer, at the state level as well. And not just from the manufacturing side, but also from the tax credit side for every single buyer. The federal credits are going away. We don't know what's going to happen in the state with that credit. As far as I know, it's still sitting at $4,000. But the whole process, the whole manufacturing process is heavily subsidized. This is all part of the green energy scam. Look, I'm all for Rivian. God bless you. Like, I'm so glad that you're setting up shop. I'm glad you manufacture. I'm glad people want to buy your vehicle, but I don't want to subsidize it. That's all. And I think that's where most people are. Go ahead, build your product, sell your product, and, let people buy it. But why should we subsidize it? We shouldn't. So anyway, breaking news in a way on the whole Gotion deal. And we'll keep on top of this story, but Gotion in Michigan is dead, and we hope for the same in the state of Illinois. Thanks for joining me on this short Facebook Live.